Hello, hello from the darkness. I'm starting the stream. I just don't have my desktop and my cam enabled just yet, as I'm kind of tweaking some things. I'll turn it on in just a second here. Trying something a little new today on the stream. If I didn't screw it up. Let me see if I can get the camera. Trying out some hotkeys here. Okay, there we go. Just took a little second. Okay. So I've been working today on some atmosphere rendering, and here you can see as the sun moves around the planet, it kind of changes how the atmosphere looks. I think it looks pretty dope. But I guess I'll let you be the judge of that. And so, with that said, I want to try a little bit different format with the stream today. And hello, welcome if you just joined. Instead of just doing a bunch of hardcore programming in this stream, I thought I would do a little bit of what I've already been doing, which is talking about updates and things, and then showing off some work in a kind of interactive way. Kind of make it like sort of an interactive dev blog where I can talk about what's going on, you can talk back to me, and I can respond to questions, and then maybe we can try tweaking some things together, some stuff that I've already been working on. But rather than me sitting there like trying to figure out lots of intense math stuff on the stream, which I don't think is too exciting for you, and it's actually not as easy for me to focus on that stuff when I'm also trying to talk to people on the stream. So I thought, okay, I've done some work since the last time, and I'll show off that work, talk about what else is on the horizon, and then we can kind of play a little bit with the new stuff that I've done. And I can walk you through kind of the steps I took to get there. So we will look at a little bit of code, but it won't be like sort of debugging. It'll just be sort of like, here's this part of the code and this is what it does, and I can like turn different parts of the code on and off, and we can see how that affects things. So I have a little agenda here today, and the agenda is basically first talking about this new format, then talking about some upcoming PAX excitement, and to go along with that, little thing about publishers that I'm pretty happy about, and with that also talk about the new atmosphere rendering. One new thing that I thought we could try building that's not too like crazy math intensive and shouldn't be like getting me stuck is to try to do some colors to the clouds. Right now the clouds are all white, but I thought it'd be cool to add those to the color palette so we could get like purple clouds and pink clouds and blue clouds and whatever you want. And then also I have this set of player stories that I was talking about earlier, which was why like I just did that little meteor thing. It was like I thought it'd be cool if they're like basically little snippets or what have you that like players could talk about, like, oh, this happened, during the game. That would make it exciting them for them to tell a friend, as well as to make them want to keep playing. So that's kind of what I want to go over today, and it should be a little bit of a shorter format show. Rather than so it might only be like an hour instead of 2 hours, but I'd rather keep it short and sweet rather than long and boring. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Let me know if you have any opinions on that, if you prefer to go back the other way or to kind of try to do a little bit of a more short and sweet stream. So, with that said, PAX is coming up. Not this week, not next week, but well, let me look at this calendar here. I think it's so starting at the end of next week. There's PAX, but on the earlier in the week and these days, there's this sort of investor summit that's going on, and I'm starting to get emails from publishers for that event that want to meet, and so I've scheduled a meeting, and I'm really excited to show the game, and that's awesome that it's getting interest even in this super early state, and I hope that'll just continue to grow, both interest from publishers and from players, and yeah. So bear with me just 1 second while I look something up. I'll be back in just a second, I swear. I just wanted to double check on something, and that looks good. So, yeah, we are good. Oh, and one other thing, you should see a new little updated kind of progress bar on the bottom. This is something like Dissident is followed, and so I hit a milestone, 20 followers after a couple of weeks of streaming, and so the next goal is to try to get us to 30. So if you know anybody who'd be interested, go ahead and send them my way. Ask them, hey, check out this guy, and if they like him, they can follow. If you haven't followed already, please consider that. But let's talk about the atmosphere rendering. I wanted to. It was a little bit tough to decide to work on this, and it took a little longer than I expected it to. If I had known it would take this long, I probably would have focused a little bit more on something else, like more on the simulation. So after I'm done with this atmosphere stuff, I'm definitely going to focus more on simulation stuff, because that's really the core of what the game is. But I've got some pretty cool little atmosphere rendering here that I call like semi-physical or semi-realistic. There are definitely some stylistic choices that I made as I tweak stuff and to get certain qualities that I wanted. So one thing I wanted was to get the kind of blue in the upper atmosphere, and also to have a nice soft fade out as the atmosphere gets thinner and thinner away from the planet. But I wanted to have a nice white rim around the edge. And then I also wanted to get some nice sun highlights when you have the sun sort of just behind the horizon. So as you can see, you can't actually see like an image of the sun right now, but you can see this sort of lighting highlight on the planet that kind of tells you the direction of the sun, and as it goes behind the planet, you get that nice hot kind of look. Let me restart it, so because I rotated the planet to like different directions. And if you have any questions about what's going on, and there, all my clouds. So to truly show this, I like to turn the clouds off and then make the planet rotate a little. So make it rotate at a kind of slow speed, and you can see basically different parts of the atmosphere are getting lit up by the sun as it rotates around. And I think it's a pretty cool effect. Makes it dynamic, makes it feel kind of hot. And so if you look at what I had before I got started with this, like this was basically what the atmosphere looked like. And at the time I thought it looked kind of okay, but now looking back at it, I realized that this is garbage. This just, I don't like. It does have that nice white rim, which I like, and it goes to the blue, but just the fade out was too sharp, too harsh, and there was nothing dynamic about it. So then, I started working towards this, which is pretty close to what we're looking at now without that nice sun highlight. And it's kind of cool looking, kind of looks like whoosh, like it's just flying through space, leaving a trail. But that's, so it gives it sort of this fast look, even though that's not really what it is. Really what it is just, it's not really trails here, it's just the shadow of the planet where the sun is over in front of it, and so it's not really lighting up the atmosphere behind it. So there are a few different components to this, and I had to make quite a few changes, and it took a while to actually get it going. For one thing, that shadow of the planet, I had some math errors, but I finally fixed them. It was just a stupid little thing, and it was weird because as I moved the camera around, I was getting like weird shifting results. But basically I have my shader and I do a few things. Basically I figure out, okay, if the view ray traveled through the atmosphere, what would be the distance that it traveled? Then I consider actually the kind of mass of the planet itself to occlude that, to kind of shorten the ray. And that's why it doesn't look like super white and foggy in the middle here. But what is cool is, as I put these things kind of in the distance, they get kind of fogged. It's kind of tricky because it looks like I'm moving the planet, but what I'm really doing is rotating the camera around. So it can be hard to kind of, but you can see that how they're getting kind of fogged out there in the distance on that side. But really, there's less fogging where they're kind of in the shadow and more where they're not in the Earth's shadow. And you get this cool, it looks like a shadow being cast onto those mountains there. And it helps you kind of give a sense of depth, feel like what's behind, and just kind of looks nice. So now I'm in the night here, and the sun will come around and fog out those planets. Okay. So then basically, I have to consider there's like a chunk of that view ray that's shadowed by the planet somewhere at one edge or the other edge or somewhere in the middle. So what I do is basically I divide it up into like the first half and the second half, and I do sort of a line integral where I sample at different points and then kind of calculate an average amount of atmosphere being reflected at me. And then so by default it's just I divide it right in half, so like I consider the enter shadow point to be halfway through and the exit also halfway through, so they're same point, so effectively no shadowing. And then what I tried to do was separate that into two integrals and then integrate them separately, but I was getting pretty, I can show you, like harsher kind of shadowing than I wanted, because when you think about the atmosphere, like it's scattering light all around and kind of creates a softness in any lighting in the atmosphere, but since I wasn't accounting for that, you get a really sharp kind of shadow, which looks kind of distinct and cool, but it wasn't really what I was going for. And so I tried to play with the math a little bit and change that around. But what ultimately ended up working better, accomplishing basically the same effect, was just calculating, instead of doing these two separate chunks of lines, do the whole thing and then just kind of multiply it down by this shadow factor, where basically there's a percentage that's in shadow and percentage that's out. So I just kind of multiply it only by the percentage that's outside the shadow, and that gives you something like this, which still has a little bit of sharpness there, but it looks better. And then when I do this, since I have that shadow factor, I can basically soften it even more by doing a little bit of math on it. And so now that makes it nice and soft. And it was a lot harder to think of a way to do that when I was just basically making it two separate lines. And how I get the shadow is basically I just calculate where that ray would enter a cylinder that's sort of centered around the planet and going in the direction of the sun light. But then if I don't consider it only on one half of the planet, then I get this kind of you can kind of see almost the shape of the cylinder there. It extends to both sides of the planet, which obviously doesn't make sense because the whole thing's trying to shadow, which is by definition on one side. So we say, let's fix that. And so now we do it only on the one side basically. And I had a little problem with that even too, where I was basically looking at the normal of the mesh. Where is it? So I have this mesh for the atmosphere, and saying like if that was on one side of the planet or the other, that really didn't make sense. Really what I want to know is when I intersect that cylinder, is that point on one side of the planet or the other? And so that fixed a little weirdness that I was having. And so now I get a nice atmosphere. So then the main kind of hotness here is this get scattered light function, and what that does is basically I step through the atmosphere, have like sort of an estimate for the density, and then kind of add it all up, and I use like a blue color for what I call like the uniform integral, and which is kind of just this general scattering of light in the atmosphere. But then for stuff that's more like at sunset, it's more directional, and so I have more of like an orange color for that. Of course, when it all gets added together, it kind of becomes more of a white color. So in the future, I might tweak that a bit. But then I basically just add these two together. And I tried playing with like the number of steps in my integral, and how many I needed depended on what I was doing. For example, if right now I'm dividing it into two chunks and then taking a midpoint, and I'm kind of doing my calculations there. And since I've already divided in half, doing more and more steps didn't really make much of a difference. And I can show you here if I just kind of pause the planet and let me find a good angle to show some shadowing, some highlighting. So if I made it like more steps, it actually made the sun a lot hotter, which is interesting, but it didn't do much for like this sun highlight here, this rim light, but the rest of it didn't make much of a difference. So maybe I will consider doing more steps, but if that's because I'm already kind of splitting everything in two. If I had made it where it was just like one integral across the whole thing, then suddenly that number of steps makes a much bigger difference. As you can, where am I going? So if I go here and I say let's make it like 5 steps or something, right? That makes a much bigger difference, both on that highlight and just the overall atmosphere. So let's not do that. Let's make it nice and efficient, and get something that looks pretty nice. Although now I am tempted to like see what happens if I do more of that and then watch it rotate around, see kind of how that rim lighting looks, if it looks pretty nice or not. That's a little too much, so I'm going to go back to 1. And then I'm going to just restart it to get a different angle on it. And I still probably need to tweak that some, turn off the clouds for a second. And what's cool is, it looks pretty good at various distances. You can still see that kind of hot white rim. And as you get closer, it still preserves it, but gives you can see the softness of the atmosphere. So it looks, and if it's just kind of going behind that space image in the background, that's why it's sort of like popping out of existence right there, because that space image is like at a certain distance. Let me turn off some of my debug kind of rendering here because it's annoying, and make the planet spin around. That looks pretty good. So yeah, I like that. So that's the atmosphere rendering, and then you can draw some terrain and whatnot, have stuff happen. Draw little zigzaggy islands. Some mountains. Of course, everything's exaggerated here because if it were realistic, everything would be totally flat, and that wouldn't be any fun, would it? So let's make some crazy, massive, gigantic mountains. See, like a ridge right here. Like the planet has a mohawk. Kind of looks like a fishy. Do-do-do. So I like the way that fogging looks. And that brings me to another point is I want to, just to give you a sense of how the depth on the planet, to add a little bit of like height fogging to the everything here. So the stuff closer to the ocean level is a little bit fogged out, and stuff higher up isn't so fogged out. With the textures on here, it makes it a little less necessary than it was when it was just totally smooth stuff. But to really kind of tell how high it is, because it's kind of hard to tell sometimes from directly above. You know, like it's hard to tell, is that short, is that tall? Oh, it's pretty tall. And so I want to add a little bit of that. But I'm feeling pretty good about how that sun looks. You know, I have it spinning pretty fast now. I can slow it down so that we can kind of slowly see stuff change. And I'll leave that up while I talk about the next thing, which is oh yeah, I didn't add the fogging thing, did I? If we have time for it, maybe I will do a little bit of height fogging. But then the next update that we have, oh yeah, so I forgot to say, with the pack stuff, so tomorrow I'm traveling, spending the whole day traveling. I'll spend a lot of time in airports, so tomorrow probably not going to be able to stream, but then Thursday and Friday I should be able to stream, and then I might have to change my stream schedule because I'll be in a different time zone, and like I'll be moving around in different places. So I think in the morning I'll be on the West Coast, Seattle, will be a better time to stream while I'm in Seattle next week, and then while PAX is actually happening, as well as on the 28th, which is like that investor event. I don't think I'll be able to stream at all. But then after PAX is over, I'll be back to streaming. And I'm curious, so the time I'm thinking about streaming would be 9 a.m. for Pacific time, or 12 noon for East Coast time. So maybe that would actually be a little more convenient for people anyway. I'm curious to know what you think. 9 a.m. would maybe be before some of my tech people go into their like 10 o'clock jobs, if you have one of those late jobs. And hopefully noon would mean, oh, you could watch during lunch if you want to. Assuming you aren't going out for lunch with your friends or something. Although even if you are going out and you're solo, you could, watch or listen on your phone. So yeah, no stream tomorrow, but Thursday and Friday it should be, and then early next week I'll still be streaming, but earlier in the day. And yeah, it'll be a little funky for the next couple of weeks, but then I'll be back to normal after PAX is all said and done. We talked about all this stuff. Is this guy still rotating? I'm gonna rotate him a little faster. It's kind of fun just to watch that. And one thing is, this atmosphere is obviously kind of cartoonishly exaggerated in how deep it is, because I just wanted to, mainly because also the planets are kind of cartoon, or the elevation, like the mountains and things, are cartoonishly exaggerated. So that means that it is going to look a little different from what you might expect in the real world, but still based on some real math, where like I kind of trace a ray through it, and I look at like the atmospheric density to calculate like how much light's coming back. So, but then I did a bunch of tweaking on color stuff. For example, let me find it here. Like you can see all the stuff that I kind of commented out and I said stream note, or I kind of want to talk about, where I was like, oh, let me figure out opacity. Let me try a couple different ways of calculating that and the color. I tried to see maybe, this is kind of cool. What if I do additive kind of blending instead of your normal alpha blending? And at first thought it looks kind of cool. Makes it look kind of hot, and it's cool how you can see the stars through it, which looks pretty nice. The only thing is, it might be a little distracting. The clouds. So, for example, so the clouds and the atmosphere, believe it or not, are using the same shader right now. Well, that really shouldn't, because basically I say if it's like the cloud layer, do this. Otherwise, this is all atmosphere stuff. So I should really probably just break it out into two separate shaders. But anyway, and that's just a little optimization there. Where is it? Yeah, the soft particle factor. Basically, I use the depth buffer of the scene, and then if stuff's really close, then I fade it out. So like here, you can see these hard edges here, and just by enabling that soft particle technique, it really softens it up and makes it look a lot nicer. So now let's try doing some cloud color palettes. So I'm gonna create a cloud color, and it's gonna by default it's gonna be just all white. And then I just basically have to pass that on to my cloud renderers. I could also do the atmosphere color itself if I want. So I'll have to stop the game there to actually make this do anything. And in my cloud layer shader, so this is the part that's actually for the cloud layer. And what I could probably do actually instead of doing that is just set the color. There's already a value called color. And I can use that, and that should be able to allow me to tweak the colors of the clouds using a palette. So let's try that out. I just want to check one quick thing. Okay. And this I'm going to get rid of this little, where is it? This quad. It was just a little test I was using to see if I could see the depth buffer. So I don't need that. Don't need it at all. So that should work. I think that's all I need to do code-wise. So if I go to my planet and let's give it a, where's my color palettes? I'm gonna assign it, let's say this madness color palette. Where is it? There it goes. Boom. And let's say I want some hot pink clouds. So now I got pink clouds, look at that. And then I could do the same thing for the atmosphere. So kind of like color, like atmosphere color. And I'm gonna make that whatever the blue color that I kind of hard coded in here is. So I have this color, this blue right here. That's like the default. And then I also want to have like a sun scattering color or something. Call it. And that is this one here. So I just need to hook it all up. So I want to pop it in here somewhere. I don't even know if I'm using this Fresnel exponent anymore. I'm just going to get rid of it. And what's the other one for sun scattering color? Because it's a scattery kind of day. I feel like a scat man. And I just remembered I should get some music going here. So let's play some music. Just gotta quickly add these guys because I have to how did that go in Jurassic Park? Complete the code, something like that. The other one is 1.5. Where do I actually use this in here? Only in the cloud version. So I should probably rework this all at some point, but oh well. Come on, stop. Stop! It'd be cool to see a purple atmosphere, won't it? Okay. So I set that color, and now I just need to set the other stuff. And it's nice to be able to hook this all up to data so we can just quickly tweak and iterate on everything. I like it. It's fun. So let's pick a different palette. Let's go with like the purple turquoise palette. Why not? So we got some purple land. I think that might go well with either purple or pink clouds or atmosphere. Maybe. Okay. So let's look at that palette. And sort of atmosphere color. And we can make that. Woo! Look at that. Maybe that's a little crazy. A little dimmer, maybe. Let's go all around the color wheel, huh? Ooh, that looks nice. I like that turquoise, somewhere in that turquoise range. Where did I like it the most? That's really bright. For some reason that really just pops against that purple background. Just tweak it a bit. Tweak it. Alright, I like that. That looks pretty cool. And the sun scattering. To see that, I kind of need to rotate around. So the sun is in front of me. So if I go till the sun's behind, okay, there's that sun scattering. So now this one ends up mostly being white regardless, but because it adds with that atmosphere color. So like in this case, it's like a yellow plus a blue. It comes out white. But let's play with it. Let's do that. So let's see what that looks like in motion. In motion. In hindsight, I probably should have added like a scalar if I can. I can't really multiply it beyond 1 because it's color. If I had done a vector, I could have made it larger. Well, let's take a look at that as it moves around. Where am I? Rotation speed. Why can't I click on anything? That was weird. Oh, I accidentally extended that gigantic array of points. Whoops! That's humongous. That'll take a second. That's 6 neighbors for every one of the 40,000 verts, so that's like 250,000 values it's trying to display there. So that's kind of cool looking. Remember, I have some land I can draw in here. I'm gonna use my brush that I made the other day to do some leveling. Make like a nice border around this island. You know, previously I couldn't make it a good shape like that. Eventually the water should drain off that, I think. I don't know why it hasn't risen above the ocean quite yet. Okay, so there's my planet. Let me just draw us a little more. Get some stuff. Oh, I need to add. Huh! Can make these like buttes now. Should try that. Let's play with the tools a little bit. Let the ocean water drain out. So I'm creating a big old funny looking continent. And then draw some buttes. Whoa, that was big. Wow, that's a kind of cool looking crater. So now I'm starting to be able to make a lot of, different looking planets. I like that. Oh yeah, I wanted to change the cloud color here. Back to my... Maybe purple would be good for the clouds. Why? Is that not the palette that's being applied? Yeah. I'm not sure why that's not having any effect, so that's surprising. If I change it here, I don't seem to be able to. There we go. So I can change it there. So why is it not working with my my fancy little palette? Oh, did I do it in the wrong spot? I might have done it only at the beginning or something? Did I accidentally delete that line of code? I did. Look at that. Dummy me. That would explain everything. Absolutely everything. One thing I want to do is make it where I can edit the land without the water simulation, so I can kind of immediately see it rise up. That would be nice in the future. Okay, so I'm going to apply this purple turquoise palette. Bam! Ooh, the green kind of looks neat. Even though it wasn't what I was intending originally. Kind of looks neat. I think I like more of a hot, semi-hot pink, not too hot, but like right there. That looks pretty cool. All right, so I did more than we did more than we set out to. We got not just the cloud colors, but the atmosphere color and the sun color. And let's get our planet kind of spinning kind of fast so we can see. Wow! And I feel like I want to capture a video of that. The planet's not the best looking planet, but hey. Let me put some stuff that will be kind of fogged out back here. So now you should be able to see the difference between the side that's affected by the sun and the side that's not. Maybe. That'll be pretty cool if we can see it properly. Oh, I didn't put that far enough back, did I? Get out of here. Get out of here. Nonsense. Islands. That looks kind of cool, though. Need to get further back, yo. So right now it's minimal fogging over there, and then a lot of fogging. Like at nighttime, you don't see much effect. It's kind of open to the bare night sky. Not loving the way this island looks, though. This island, this planet, I should say. That green is too hot. Why is that not affecting? Huh. Apparently I'm not doing anything with the vegetation color. So that's something to fix. Indubitably. What if I make the clouds a little less opaque? Just gonna spend a little bit of time beautifying this. I don't know if I'm actually gonna make it prettier or not, but I'm gonna try to beautify this stuff. It's kind of fun just to play around and paint this stuff. Get some layers going. My sun's spinning around. Turn off all this debug crap. Oh yeah, my vegetation color. That's kind of nice. It looks a lot better now. So let's bust out Bandicam and take a quick little video. Get a nice square aspect ratio for GIFs. And I think I'll start recording when this planet's kind of lit up, maybe. A nice symmetric spot to start and end. If I can do it just right, then I can make it a nice looping animation pretty much. So let's see, take a look at that video. Now that sun didn't really go quite behind, did it? Might need to redo that. Yeah. I'm gonna get that light to go behind so we get that cool highlight. I need to take a look and see what my camera is doing. So this is the Unity editor view as opposed to the game view if you're not familiar with it. And yeah, my camera's a little bit rotated. So what I think I can do is just tweak that. Okay. So now if I play, I should get that nice rim lighting as the sun goes behind the planet. Maybe rotate up just a little bit. I'm actually rotating the camera down. That's pretty cool. I might want to actually move the camera slightly. Yeah, I like that angle. That's good stuff. It also means I need to draw more planetiness down here. So let's do that. Let's do a little bit of leveling. Use that fancy new tool. That looks pretty good. Alright, alright. So now we just wait for the sun to go around one more time, and then we've got it. And I could start just a couple frames early because I can edit it later. Start a couple frames early, end a couple frames late. Let's take a look at that video. Delete that first one. That garbage. Ugh. Okay, and what else is on the docket? I don't think we'll do height fogging today, not yet. It can come later. I mean, could do a real quick attempt here. So let's see if I have anything like that. I don't think I have the average height available here, or do I? Oh, I do have the average land elevation. Because I use it for that visualization. Remember the visualizations. Wow, ooh, that looks cool. I'll take a screenshot of that. Except I want to get rid of this nonsense. What's a good moment? Maybe that. Yeah. I think this looked cooler before those clouds appeared, but that's okay. I don't think they're going away. Or are they? No. Maybe, you know, honestly I might turn the clouds off. That's gonna look cooler. Yeah. Some catalog and all this stuff. Elevation visualization sounds like a Rage Against the Machine lyric. Elevation visualization. Don't stop till you stop discrimination. Okay. There's that. Okay, back to this height fogging. That's right. We're going to take a real quick look at that. So, you want to do it before paint overlay, but after pretty much everything else. Float fogging equals. And right now the fog color is just going to be like a white, but I should pump that into a color palette as well. It'd be cool to have a purple fog. Equals. So I really want to know, like, how deep is it in the atmosphere? But I can do a quick hack here where I say I could do this. Height above sea level. It was like 1,000, just a fixed value for now. Divided by divided by 1,000. But I don't want to go full fog, so I'm going to do like 0.3 times. And then C dot RGB equals lerp, C dot RGB, fog color, fogging. And right now this is just going to be hard to find here, but I can make it a parameter. And I have to get out of this visualization mode. So did that do anything? Seems to have. Let me pause all that rotating. There's definitely something going on there. I think I might want to not apply a linear, but a more of a quadratic kind of thing. The second power. So what that should do is say, actually no, I should just do fogging equals pow fogging 2, so it should be very minimal except at the very bottom. Just to double check, do something crazy. Yeah. It's not looking amazing, is it? And I flattened that mountain instead of adding to it. So there you can see, it looks like 1,000 isn't quite enough. And if I square it, what does it look like? That's pretty good, except I want to apply it only to the water. Where's the apply water? Wateriness. I'll just steal the same thing. Minus water, so I don't get fog on the actual ocean itself. That looks kind of weird though, doesn't it? Doesn't it? I don't really think there's a good way around that. It'd be weird, but I could try reversing it where high elevation stuff has more fog. Well, this doesn't look too bad, to be honest, but not really what I want. Well, if I get some kind of atmosphere simulation, I mean, I could use the relative humidity, and that would help. See if that compiles. All right. So without fog, I have that. That creates a weird border, doesn't it? Oh no, that was already there. I don't think there's any good way to do this height-based fogging where it's foggier at the bottom without fogging the ocean, without creating weird disparities. So that makes stuff foggy up high, which looks kind of weird. So let's see if we can actually use the tell even elevation changes. The lighting here is doing that more than anything. Sometimes the lighting, like if I'm back here, the lighting won't have much of an effect. So it did help me right here a little bit. But it's not great. Not great at all. That actually, when I make it linear, it actually helps more, doesn't it? So without fogging, looks like that, and with fogging, that really help me? Not too much. This kind of makes everything a little wash out, really. That's starting to do it. So I was fogging from the land level as opposed to sea level. I called it sea level, but really, it's the average land elevation. So if I just quick add in a 5 hack, I think it does help me. Yeah, it does help me a little bit. That makes more sense because I was starting from like deep under the ocean. The thing is, I don't like how washed out everything looks. If I add it only to the land, then the land looks weird against the water. That's if it's above, like snow peaks almost. So, we're almost done looking at this. The only other thing I wanted to try was, what was it? Oh yeah, times relative humidity. Saturate. Apparently I have some really high relative humidities at the surface. And with no fog, everything's a much more saturated color, obviously. It helps me a little bit here, but I think there might be low relative humidity here, so it's harder to tell. But that's something to think about with atmospheric rendering, is looking at the relative humidity, which I could even do in my atmosphere shader itself. Overall, I'm not digging what I just did here, so I'm gonna get rid of it all. Just get out of here. Get out of here. Okay, so we took a look at that. It didn't really work out so great. So the other thing was the player stories. So we have these two guys in progress, can be just be checked in and then they're done. Took a look at the depth fog, didn't really like it. maybe I can find a better way in the future, but right now I'm not really liking it. And player stories, that's right. So here is some of the things that I was thinking about. Like, these would be cool things to have happen in the game that like something we could tell someone about. And I already started on one of them. You may have seen the GIF of the meteor created a giant tidal wave that destroyed life on a continent. And I can show you that if you haven't seen it before. Here's the little GIF. Boom! And you can see it hitting that land and splashing up and actually wiping out all the life where that tidal wave hits. And so, yeah, that was fun. It took a lot of work to actually upgrade the water simulation to be able to support a wave, because before it was a very energy damping kind of simulation where stuff just kind of flowed from high spots to low spots in a way that was very sort of safe and didn't lead to crazy stuff happening. But when I thought of this meteor tidal wave thing, I thought, okay, we need to get some actual dynamics in the water with some velocity. And there's another one where I said destroyed a mountain range. I don't know how realistic that is for like what a real tidal wave would do. Like, how big would the tidal wave have to be, and how it would accomplish that in the game. But anyway, a sea fills in a desert, so like you got a desert, and then something happened to release a bunch of water, and all of a sudden there's a sea there, and maybe some life sprouts out around the outside. Kind of the opposite, an inland sea was cut off from its water supply, and then it changed the life dynamics there. And basically, if any of these sound like they'd be cool to see, maybe I could do them in an upcoming, show them, work on it, and then show it in an upcoming dev stream. If you can tell me like, oh yeah, this will be really cool, because if you like it, then maybe it'd be good thing to have in the game, and to show it off. A mountain range rose, and then it created a desert. So imagine like two tectonic plates, they hit each other, and a mountain range is created, and it changes the rain patterns, and what was once a fertile plain is now a desert. Two continents collided and created a mountain range, kind of similar but without the desert part. I stopped the planet's rotation, and then the crazy winds destroyed everything. If you think about it, the Earth rotates pretty darn fast, in 24 hours, right? Imagine how fast you'd have to go all the way around the Earth in 24 hours. Well, that's how fast it rotates. So if you stopped it, the winds would continue their momentum, and it'd be like more than hurricane force winds, ravaging everything. And then I haven't really put in like what like winds could destroy anything, but that would be cool to see. A meteor hits and it sets an entire continent on fire. Did the next two already? Volcanoes killed all life by superheating the atmosphere. Woo! Looks like we got a little subscriber. Thank you. Let me see who it is. Not subscriber, but follower. What's the delay on my stream here? Thanks for joining the channel. Smokey the Bear, thanks for coming in, man. Thanks for following. So I'm talking about like, these different player stories. I don't know how much of that you heard, but one of them was like, oh, life spreads from the sea to a continent. That would be pretty cool. Sea levels rose and put out the fire that was raging on my favorite island. And then these next two are these are cool, but definitely would be a little bit further down the road. One ecosystem took over another, kind of similar. An invasive species wipes out an ecosystem. So if any of these seem really cool to you, let me know, and maybe I could think about trying to put something together and showing it off on an upcoming dev stream. I don't know if you saw the what I've got going here, but I have a pretty cool like atmosphere rendering effect going on. Let me rotate the planet a little bit, and you can see basically as the sun moves around, it shadows so parts of the planet, so like the atmosphere isn't so visible, and you can see the stars through it, and then it comes back around, And let me restart the simulation here so you can see it from a different angle. And turn off the clouds because they're really dense right now. And then we're gonna make this planet spin really fast, apparently. So the sun's coming around. You can't see the sun directly right now, but you can see like the highlight here telling you kind of the direction of the sun. And these tails right here are basically the edges of the shadow. And then as the sun goes behind the planet, you get this really cool like morning or sunset kind of hotness. And anyway, I think it's pretty cool looking. Let me know if you think it's good or if you think it needs improvement. But I had some fun today and yesterday working on that. But what else? So tomorrow I'm traveling, so no stream tomorrow, but I'll resume Thursday and Friday. But I might move it to the morning just because I'll be in a different city and in a different place where I'm not streaming from my normal place. Today we did a little bit of playing with color palettes. So if let me turn the clouds back on, and this is sort of like normal Earth colors, but I added cloud color, atmosphere color, and then like this, I call it the sun scattering color, to a color palette that we can swap around. So I can throw that in, and now you can see I have like kind of purplish clouds. I have like a teal atmosphere color, and then a different kind of sun highlight color as well. And I can play with those things. So I could like, once the sun gets over there, okay, so we got like a pink color for the sun there. So I'm going to stop moving the sun for a second. And then, we can play with the cloud color, for example. It could be like, because the game is paused. It's not showing up. There we go. So I made them green. And you can do all kinds of different cloud colors. Similar for the atmosphere. We can make it a purple atmosphere if we want. Ooh, that looks pretty cool. And then the sun color kind of adds to that, so it mostly kind of takes stuff to white, depending on exactly what the atmosphere color is. And I want to do a little bit of work in the future to be able to get a little more color in that, not just so whitish, so desaturated. So this is like SimCity meets a planet. That's not a terrible way to describe it. It is a planet, and it's a simulation. It's like a crazy simulation. But where SimCity is like you're constantly managing everything, this is just supposed to be a chill game. You basically can set up the planet, and then you can just kind of let it run all day and check back in whenever you want, and see how things have evolved. Maybe new land is formed, maybe life started growing, maybe your planet froze over, and just see how it goes. And if you want, you can tweak with it, you can play with things, mess with it, try to play God, probably fail in the process, or you can just let it go and relax, whatever you want. Yeah, I loved your stream. I'm about to design a custom overlay for my channel. What? Is this seems like spam. But yeah, that's the idea. So let me do a quick thing here where I can show you kind of more evolution on the planet. So if I go to my planet, so right now surface temperature is set to 500. If I make it 5,000, then you can start off with like a really hot planet. I haven't actually looked at it yet since I did the atmosphere stuff. So it's almost like bright as the sun, right? Everything's so hot it's glowing and molten. And then your planet starts to cool over time. Maybe there's some volcanoes popping up. And so I just turned on the volcanoes, and it's slowly cooling, getting darker. Right now the atmosphere is full of smoke. That's what all this dark stuff is. And then let me make it rotate a little bit too over time. So now it's kind of becoming nighttime there, and that's looking pretty cool with all this stuff going on. And then day comes again. It's still cooling, so it's not really molten anymore, but you do have these volcanoes popping up. And it finally cooled enough for liquid water to form, so it just starts raining like crazy and filling in all these oceans. And now we have a planet with liquid water. And these volcanoes, some of them are rising up above the sea, or at least vaporizing the water where they come up. And maybe the planet has, you know, some land, so we can add some land here. And it's kind of like a mixture of rock and sand, and maybe over time, if the conditions are just right, life would start forming. We can, you know, maybe some of this will start turning green. And yeah, it looks like it's starting to get a little bit more green, so life is starting to grow there. But, and this is all like super sped up, because it's easier to do development that way, but like for life to take, you know, to come into existence in real life, that takes billions of years. So like you have to let the game not run for billions of years, but, you know, maybe an hour or a couple hours, you know, just in the background while you're doing whatever else you're doing, before life really starts to grow in like that. But then maybe your sun dies, or maybe your planet starts reflecting heat back out to atmosphere. Ooh, and then it freezes over. That was really fast, but because I changed the values quite significantly. But like, just to show you that there's this crazy simulation going on that affects like all the different points on the planet independently, thousands and thousands of points. And so basically the idea is you can just check in, see how things are going. Maybe crazy events happen, like maybe a meteor comes and hits your planet, boom, and creates a giant tidal wave. And maybe that hits a planet or like a continent and like just wipes out the life there. So you can keep it on a second monitor while you play other games. Exactly. I saw you incorporated maybe an alien species. That's actually pretty cool. So there aren't like right now anything with aliens coming from another planet, but I have a very simple life simulation, and you can kind of, you know, in the future there'll be like different types of life, different ecosystems. Right now, the kind of what you can do is, so let me apply like a color palette here. So I made the life more of like it's not green anymore. You can change it in the color palette, the vegetation color, to get different kind of colors there. So that's kind of what I got for going for life right now, and that was a meteor crashing down. And so that's kind of the game. I only say this because I saw posted reviews about pushing this to a publisher. It looks way sweeter seeing it. Not trying to be, well, I'm glad you like it, and I guess that means I need to up my game for like how I actually show this off, because I'm assuming, I don't know if you saw still images or GIFs or what, or like, I'm actually kind of curious, like what do you see here that didn't come through in what you saw before, so I can know like how I can present it better. So, and I have like this color palette system, so if you have any other thoughts on that, I'd love to hear it, but in the meantime, let me show you just swapping out different color palettes. That's right. So now, that one looks, I call this madness, and maybe it's just the pop of color compared to what was just there, but I found that very enjoyable. This color transition here is a little harsh. I'd probably change the vegetation color to something else that's a little more in line with what's going on there. Maybe like a cyan. So yeah, I've got starting to set up meetings with publishers. That's pretty exciting, to be honest. I do feel a little nervous that maybe the game's not quite ready yet. Didn't start that long ago, but PAX is coming up so soon that I figured it's a good opportunity that I should take advantage of. I don't want to miss it. I'm liking these hot pink clouds. Let me see what other color palettes I have going on here. I had the one I called Watermelon. Boop, Watermelon Planet. And it's fun to just be able to quickly change this stuff. Ooh, I kind of like that glowy green atmosphere. That's kind of cool. Did we look at Red Man already? Yeah. Green. I believe it was an email I wrote, but maybe it was just a lost reading of it. More of a visual person, but when it comes to description, but you never know what you run into. It looks awesome. Oh, thanks, man. Did I write any emails about this? Maybe it was like Facebook or something? I don't know. Wow, that glowy hot sun looks cool coming through that atmosphere. So yeah, that's kind of today's stream. I don't think I have any more in store today. We talked about, basically I'm trying to do less like actual just sitting and coding and figuring stuff out, and more talking about and showing off what I did since the last stream, and then maybe a little bit of coding if it's like simple light stuff, like I did some more color palette stuff today, which was pretty simple to do, and then just playing with the new stuff that's been developed and talking about it. So tomorrow I'm traveling, no stream tomorrow. Thursday and Friday I should be back, but in what will be probably 9 a.m. Pacific and 12 noon Eastern time instead of my normal afternoon time. And then Thursday I'm going to be, next Thursday, not this Thursday, but next Thursday, I'm going to be in an all-day event. And then there's PAX, so like while PAX is happening, probably not a whole lot of streaming, but then back to streaming once PAX is over. And showed the atmosphere stuff, showed the clouds, talked about the player stories, tried a little thing to try to do some hype fogging, but it didn't really work out so well. And just to remind, these are those player stories. So if any of these sound cool to you that you like to see in the stream, let me know, and I can try to prioritize developing features that could support that story. It's a big crazy simulation going on, so this kind of having these stories helps me think about what kinds of things I need to build into the simulation. For example, some of these involve fire, so obviously I would need to build a fire system. Stopping the planet's rotation means I need to do some more work on the winds. If I were to do this, I would need to invest in plate tectonics. The sea filling in a desert, not a whole lot. I think I would just try to up the life simulation a little bit, improve that, make it a little more fancy. Volcanoes superheating the atmosphere. I probably wouldn't need a whole lot right now. I just have to either increase the heat output of the volcanoes or make the ash and soot, and actually probably just make them output carbon dioxide, because right now they don't output carbon dioxide. So stuff like that. But thanks for joining the stream, and I will be back. Today's Tuesday. I will be back on Thursday. I hope you liked the stuff you saw here, and hopefully I can get some interest from some publishers and just people in general. There is a Discord channel, which I will actually send a link to that in the chat here, where you can kind of, if you want, you can hang out even when I'm not streaming and talk about stuff. And that's basically all there is for today. So thanks, and I will see you next time.